lockdown, and a lot of people are left uncertain about where their next dollar is going to come from. And as a result, a lot of people are panicking. But I am here to tell you today that, there is some type of hope once we kind of know how to shuffle and move our money around so we can start getting the best bang for our dollar. So I've comprised a list of some things that we can possibly do to alleviate some of the financial stressors that a lot of us are dealing with now. Now, if this is the first time that you're joining me, my name is Mel. This is Team U Credit and Finance, where we talk about all things finance. For the sake of today's video, we are talking about ways to basically uplift ourselves, and we're also talking about some things that we can possibly do to help with this, money crisis that a lot of people are going through. So let's begin with a few things that we can possibly do, and I'm going to give you a list, and then we're going to jump through. All right. So I figured that maybe the first thing that we can really do as a people, as a population, to help alleviate some of the financial stress is to cut costs. All right. And after cutting costs, we're also going to try to manage our time wisely. So that way we know when and where and what we need to invest in. We're not going to be sitting there on foolish projects that's not going to bring us a dollar. Because remember, right now, things are very rough. Things are very difficult. After that, we're also going to talk about saving our money. The best places to save our money, specifically if we want to use, high yield savings accounts, where to move our monies into different places. Right. And going into that, we're also going to talk about where we need to put our energy, what projects we need to work on, what we need to do to ensure that we're going to get the best for our money. In other words, if we're investing in something, is this project going to work out for us? So those are just some of the things that we are going to do in order to help cut costs right now and to put a few dollars back in our pocket in this uncertain times. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're wasting your time or you're letting people waste your time, you're losing money. There is nothing to gain financially when you waste time. As they always say, time is money. If this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. This is Team U Finance, where we talk about leveling up. We talk about financial growth and self-motivation. Okay, so let me explain exactly what I mean when I say you're losing money because of time. Sometimes you have people that willfully try to waste your time because they know you're about to have a come up. They know you're about to, have a breakthrough. They know things are going to start happening for you. And let me give you an example of how that works. Say, for example, you're there working on a project. You have some people that'll pick up the phone or, they'll call you every single day, once, twice, 3 times a day, absolutely talking about nothing. They know you're busy, but because they want to waste your time, because they're selfish, they constantly keep calling you on the phone. Mind you, you've explained to them several times that you're busy or doing things, but they don't care. Because at the end of the day, their goal is to distract you and take you away from, leveling up and gaining some type of, financial freedom, depending what you're working on. So if you're dealing with somebody like that, you basically, as I always say, you got to cut the cord and continue working on your project. Those type of people, they're basically looking for free therapy. They're looking for people to listen to them, for people to vent to. But at the end of the day, they waste your time because, it takes you from doing what you want to do. And if it's a case of switch where you need to, talk with them, they don't have any time for you. It's just all about them. Those people are very selfish. And if you allow selfish people to waste your time, it's a lose-lose for you. There's no gain. Another situation where time management is essential is especially, when you're in a relationship. And what I mean by relationship, I mean, some type of, intimate relationship with someone. You can spend years and years with someone. You can spend months, days, weeks, or years, as I said. And at the end of the day, when everything is said and done or everything is over, you didn't gain anything. You basically wasted your time. You wasted your time. You didn't get nothing in return. All those years you sat there, made all those sacrifices. It was not even worth your while. And it wasn't worth your while because all that time you genuinely invested and you thought the person was with you, but in reality, they weren't really with you because y'all didn't have any growth together. And this is where time management should have came in. While you were sitting there trying to grow with this person, wasting your time, or you thought you were investing your time, you could have assessed yourself and say, listen, hey, this doesn't really seem to be working out. There's got to be another avenue for me to take. You don't need to sit there and waste your time with anybody who's not going to want to see you grow in any aspect, whether it be on a personal level, professional level, or even a financial level. And that's what I've always said. Like, if you allow people waste your time, Some people waste your time on purpose. Some people waste your time, unintentionally. They don't even know they're doing it because remember, they're wasters themselves. And so because they're wasters, they think everybody else is a waster. They think everybody else wants to waste their time. But you got to gain control of that and realize when people are wasting your time. Another place or scenario where people tend to waste your time is basically when you're at your job. Now, you could be at your job, you and the person doing the same type of job or the same people in the office, and they constantly come over and try to distract you. They try to get you from doing your job. They keep coming over to your cubicle, telling you all sorts of nonsense, bringing all sorts of drama, trying to distract you from doing your work. Those people are time wasters. Remember, you're only at your job for a certain amount of hours a day. And if somebody's willfully or maliciously coming over there, whether they're calling you or coming to your desk or even just passing by and trying to waste your time, that person's not in your corner. They don't want you to keep your job. Now, the funny thing is when they come to waste your time, maybe they already got their job done. And now because they got their job done, they want to keep wasting your time. You don't need to, let yourself be subjected to that. You got to learn how to stop distractions. Now, some of you might say, oh, well, it's a friend of mine. It's somebody that I know. Whether it be, the person that calls to waste your time, whether it's the intimate relationship or it's even the job. It doesn't matter what aspect it is. If you allow somebody to waste your time, you're essentially losing. And many times when you wake up and realize that your time was wasted, you tend to have regrets. So to prevent yourself from having any more future regrets about time being wasted, you basically have to learn how to balance your time, and you got to learn when people come or when situations present itself where it's going to be a time waster, you got to learn to basically discern and move away from those situations. You got to stand strong and do it. Now, as far as time management, this wasn't something that I always had in my adult years. I went through periods of time where I just couldn't understand why my time is being wasted or I'm not achieving certain goals that I need to achieve. But when I finally, I guess caught wind of it, or I guess I got more mature, I realized that not only was I wasting my time, but it was more so the people that I was rolling with that, wanted to waste my time. The people wanted to waste my time because I imagine, after discerning, as I said before, they didn't want you to grow. If somebody knows you're trying to do something and they willfully trying to take you away from what you want to do, there's no way they want you to grow or succeed. So as I said, you have to be able to manage that effectively. Now, what are some ways that you could essentially manage your time? But before I go on, I'm going to ask you again if you could please like, comment, and subscribe. Would really appreciate the support. Again, subscribe to Team U Finance. Now, what are some ways that you could start managing your time? Well, I'll tell you what I did to manage my time. First thing that I did was, and I'm a big fan of this, of journaling. I literally got a journal, got me a little marble composition book, and I wrote down all the things that I wanted to do. Be it I wanted to change jobs, I wanted to travel, I wanted to buy something, I wanted to, whatever it was. I wanted to start a new project. I literally journaled it down. And once I was able to journal it down and I saw in writing what I wanted to do, I said to myself, I said, okay, how am I going to get these things done if I never have any time to do what I want to do? How am I going to set my schedule? How am I going to set my hours? So the first step is you really need to write it down and look at it in black and white and see exactly what you want to accomplish. And then once you write that down and you set it, then you're going to put basically the goals that you want to accomplish for that time. That's one of the first things. The second thing, and again, this all piggybacks to money. With everything in life, in our adult life, it's all based on the income that we have. So if you don't have a plan as to how you're going to get those things done financially, it doesn't even make sense. You have to literally put it down on paper, as I said, and then you have to start saving or working towards that financial goal. Okay? Again, time is money. If time is not on your side, I don't care how much money you have saved or how much money you're investing, into a project, it's not going to work. They always, when I was coming up, they always said time is longer than rope. I don't know what they meant by that, but I can imagine that a piece of rope is very wide, it's very long. So at the end of the day, if you could surpass that long piece of rope, then I guess you'd have time on your side. That is the ultimate goal. That's what you have to do. And another suggestion that I have for managing my time is just stop wasting your time trying to get people to see what you're doing. Stop investing in them. Invest in yourself. Use your time wisely. Stop wasting your time on people's projects. Stop wasting your time listening to people's problems. Stop wasting your time dealing with, unhealthy coworkers that want to distract you from doing what you need to do. Those are the three facets that I basically had to clean up in my life. And once I did that, I was able to see and manage my time better. Time is money. Time is essential. Once it's passed or once it's elapsed or it's gone, you can't get it back. And I've had people say to me, oh, Mel, I wish I can get a couple years back. I wish I could go back, 5 years, because if I could have gone back 5 years, I would have done this, I would have done that. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And as I always say, in my prior videos, we got to move on. You already lost some time, or stuff didn't work out prior to you seeing this video or what have you. Keep it moving. Don't beat yourself up. Because at the end of the day, now your mindset is clear. You realize that you're going to have to manage your time wisely and much better. You're cutting out all distractions. I believe that everything is going to, turn out well in the end. Again, if this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. Please subscribe to Team U Finance, where we talk about, finance, self-motivation, and leveling up. If you got this far in my message, I thank you so much for your attention and your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Save your money. It is such a cliche statement that we as consumers have been hearing time and time and time again. I first heard about saving money when I was a teenager. I heard about saving money again when I was in my 20s. I heard about saving money when I was in my 30s. And now that I'm in my 40s, I still keep hearing people say, save your money. But is saving something that's really easy to do? Because I don't really think it is. I think a lot of people struggle with saving. They struggle with savings because, of life, every day, day-to-day expenses. And some people struggle with saving because they just don't know how to do it, or they just don't have enough to save. But before we get into it, if this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. This is Team U Finance, where we talk about leveling up our money. We talk about self-growth. We also talk about, motivation and how to continue living well and prosperous once we start attaining some type of wealth. What I was saying before is that, everybody talks about saving and putting something down, but a lot of people find it difficult. And let me tell you exactly why people find it difficult. The first reason why it's so difficult to save, in my own opinion, is because we're not even making enough to save, first of all. You go, you get your job, you're wherever you work, corporate America, healthcare, whatever it is you do, and the salary that they pay you is not even meeting the cost of living. So you're making a set amount of money, but, to live, pay your daily bills, buy food, you're still having a deficit. It's too small. So as a result, whatever little you collect or the amount that you collect from your paycheck after paying all your bills, you can't even put anything down. Because whatever you put down, you got to go back and touch it again. And that's why a lot of people struggle with savings. It's not that people don't want to save. It's just because it's really hard to save. Another reason I think people struggle with saving is because, as I said before, cost of living is extremely high, especially these days, this time that we're living in right now with the cost and the rise of inflation. Whatever you have coming in, you can't put anything down because, with everything going up, you got to spend that money that you would have put down to cover your daily, your daily lifestyle, your daily expenses. So that makes it a little bit hard. But I've always said, and I've always felt that, even if cost of living is high, you're not making enough at your job, my advice that I always gave to myself, and I would tell people to save, is that I treated myself like a bill. I literally treated myself like a bill. And how I did that was I would literally basically set aside a certain amount. Like, let's say, like in my house, I have a bill that's maybe $250 a month. I would literally set aside an amount that I thought I was, value enough to save. And I would literally put that aside in terms of, saving the money. Because I figure if I can pay all the bills in the house, pay the water, the heat, the this, the that, why can't I pay myself? Why can't I value myself as one of those bills so I could set aside? Because essentially I'm saving, I'm preserving me, right? By putting something away. Because at the end of the day, no job is guaranteed. No placement is guaranteed. So if you end up losing that job or income is not coming in, you got to have something that's stashed away to help you in the long run. So that's why I started valuing myself and I started paying, myself literally. And how I ended up doing it, other than, paying myself through my job, setting something aside before I, eventually got my deposit, I literally started putting a little something aside in different accounts. In one of my previous videos, I had mentioned, and that everybody should have more than one bank account where they stash a little bit here, stash a little bit there. If it's even an extra $10 a week, so those little monies that you're not really thinking about, they pile up, and you have them to spend on yourself. But before going around and opening multiple bank accounts or even paying yourself, they always advised when I was growing up, and yeah, I even hear to this day, that the average person should try to at least save 15, to 20% of their yearly income. Now, is it easy to do realistically? Again, as I said at the beginning of this video, I think it's one of the most challenging things that people have to do because life happens. So take, for example, if you have your job, you're making at least 50,000 a year, and I'm just throwing some numbers out. And I decided that I'm going to try to save 15% of my yearly income. I'm going to do it. So, if I start, let's say in January, whenever, the fiscal year starts for you, you might end up saving yourself $7,500 for the year. But then again, would $7,500 be enough? Should, in case anything happens to you, because they tell us that, the average person should have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses if anything happens. And again, these numbers and this advice is set. And, as I said before, it's very cliche. It tells you do this and do that and put this aside. But is it really realistic, the advice that, that they're giving us or telling us to do? So because I know that, life happens and we're human beings, that's, like I said, I always try to pay myself, make myself a bill and put a little aside in addition to whatever I save on my job or what have you. The next thing is, they always encourage us that, we should save towards our pensions, our IRAs, etc., our 403Bs, all of those things. And they're all wonderful, goals. They're all wonderful, packages or programs to save towards. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is, if you should run into a jam and before, the distribution age or the retirement age, and you try to take some of that money out, you're taxed on your money. So it's like you're still kind of in the hole if you didn't have your own savings. And that's why it's so imperative that we need to start paying ourselves and we need to start saving our own money besides what we save in our companies or privately, with different banks, right? I always reiterate that another great way that somebody could save other than paying themselves is, those great old fashioned high yield savings accounts. And I love those because when you go down to the regular bank, I mean, if you're lucky to get 0.03% on a savings account, I mean, I don't know what bank is doing that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, the rates aren't really great when you go to regular banks. But when you invest in those high yield savings accounts, you end up getting at least, anywhere from 3.75% up to even 4.5%. But again, to get those high yield accounts, you have to literally, do the research and see what bank is giving you a higher percentage yield. The good thing about the high yield savings accounts is that, those are basically like, fintech companies, or those aren't online banks. So they're not the regular where, they're literally in a brick and mortar building. So I believe in my mind that they're able to give a better interest rate because it's basically all digital. But I don't know about you, but I'd rather have my money, even if it's a digital bank. And I know some of us are a little old fashioned and, we like going in and dropping our money and moving our money and interacting with a live person. But at the same time, going interacting in a bank, a regular brick and mortar bank that's not giving you more than 0.03%, if that much, doesn't really make sense. Where if you're doing it, with the fintech banks or the banks online, you end up getting a little bit more for your money and you actually see those savings because, again, whenever a rainy day comes, you could literally borrow from yourself. You don't want to get into the habit of borrowing from, your pension or things that you have set aside for later because, again, they tax it so much. It's like you're paying when you file your taxes and you're also paying a certain amount before you get that distribution. But, a situation arises and we all have to do what we have to do as consumers or, as human beings. It doesn't really matter. We just have to try to get by. I also want to reiterate that another way, to save our money is basically when we have a little bit money to stop giving it out. And I mean by like, giving it to people that we know, friends and families. We got to stop being ATMs for people. We have to stop. Sometimes, you might be a good, kind person, and you care about people, and your heart is good. You're a good person, and whatever you do, it's gonna come back as your blessing. But sometimes, people take our kindness for weakness. So as a result, sometimes we got to pretend that we don't have it, even if we do have it. Sometimes, and people come and ask for help, we have to pretend that we don't have it. We have to cry broke. And crying broke and pretending that we don't have it is just a way to allow us to preserve a little bit for ourselves in the long run. Because the weight of the way this economy is going, everything financially, it is very hard. It's very rough out here. If this is the first time you're joining me, again, my name is Mel. This is TV Finance. If this content resonates with you, please like, comment, subscribe, share. Really do appreciate the support on the channel so far. Really helps me to get, my thoughts and, this content across. I'll push it across the algorithm. So please, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Another thing is, I also have an ebook that I wrote about, money, about leveling up your money. It's called 10 Steps to Level Up Your Money. It's a quick read. It's an easy download. If you just, look in the link in the description, you purchase the ebook, you'll be able to see some tips and advice of things that you can do to, actually get your finances to elevate a little bit. Or even, it actually helps you to like prep and plan, and gives you a little advice of where to set aside a little bit of money and so forth. And little things that we take for granted, like, again, like savings and, getting the right and proper insurances and all of those good things that we take for granted in helping to level up our money. So if you get a moment, like I said, link in the description, you could basically, pick up a copy. Hopefully you enjoy it. But in any event, what I was basically saying before is this. At the end of the day, it doesn't pay for us to throw our money out or give it out or even put our money in accounts that are locked away for a certain amount of time where we can't get access to, where we got to pay to borrow own money. It's like, we're working so hard to save, but yet when we want our money, we don't even have access to it. It doesn't really work out. And it doesn't pay for us to constantly give our money away and, be an ATM and let everybody borrow from us. Or sometimes, even when they borrow from us, they don't even pay us back. Because some people are fooled to believe that, just because I look like I'm doing great doesn't mean that I'm doing great. Maybe you see my blessing or that glow, that the Lord has bestowed on me, but it doesn't mean that I myself don't need help. So again, I don't want nobody taking my kindness for weakness. But in any event, all I'm simply saying is that preserve for you. Back to the cliche statement, save your money, okay? Put down for your rainy day. Make yourself your bank. Deposit on you, deposit in you, invest in you. Because at the end of the day, they always say that you're responsible for your own happiness. Well, I would add to that and say you're responsible for your own financial growth. If you don't take the time to grow your finances or invest in your finances, or you don't take the time to put down for your rainy day, nobody else is going to do it. What is so sad about this whole thing of saving and putting down for tomorrow is that some of those same people that you help, when you're down and you're depleted or your funds have run down, they're the same people that are going to sit there and say, oh, he's useless. She's useless. All them years they've been working, they don't have nothing. They don't have a pot to piss in a window to throw it out. That's what they're going to say. But listen, we're not, worrying about what people are going to say in the end. As I said before previously, we're not looking for people's validation. We don't need anybody to approve how we spend our money. We just need to worry about saving enough or putting some money down so that we can have something should we fall in hard times. We have something that, that we could fall back on. We can borrow from ourselves. We could just easily get access to our money, and we don't have to be at anybody's mercy and everybody insult us and just, literally treat us bad because we're, doing that. But in any event, people, if you got this far in my message, I thank you for your time. Please have a wonderful, wonderful day. And again, if you get a moment, please pick up 10 Steps to Level Up Your Money. It's a wonderful read, and I think it gives some great tips and advice on how to actually level up your money. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I don't understand why a lot of us don't focus on ourselves one-on-one. And what I mean by focus on yourself is that you literally start worrying about you. You worry about your needs. You worry about your wants. You worry about the things that you need. You stop worrying about everybody else. All right, if this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. Welcome to Team U Finance. On this channel, we talk about leveling up. We talk about self-growth. We also talk about different perspectives, and we also speak about letting and, building our money. We talk about growing our wealth. All right, so a lot of us have talents that we fail to nurture. We fail to let them grow. Now, the exact reason why we do that, I don't know. I don't have any idea. I've also been guilty of doing this, of not literally nourishing my own talents because I was focused on different things or focused on people and basically not worrying about myself. But later in my life, I realized that didn't benefit me no how, not to focus on me or my talents. So what I wanted to basically discuss is that you need to focus on you, focus on the things that you're good at. And once you focus and you double down on what you can do, you can basically start making your money. All right. The first thing that I would advise anybody to do if they're trying to grow their wealth is to start, trying to capitalize on something that they're talented at. So, for example, let's say every year, your family has an annual barbecue. They call you to make the potato salad. They always ask you to make your famous mac and cheese. They ask you to do the ribs. Whatever it is they ask you to do. For years, it's been you doing it. It's been you, getting it together. But yet, for some strange reason, although you're making that, that treat or that meal or that dish every year, you've never thought of using it to make some capital. Question is, I don't know why. Well, here's what you're going to probably have to do. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, I'm just doing it for the fun of it. It's a family barbecue. It's an annual event. I don't want to charge anybody. Now, I'm not saying that you should be charging people. You can't do anything out of the goodness of your heart. But you're so talented. And because you're so talented, you've proven it year and year after. Everybody's calling you and asking you, or they're calling and asking you to make that special dish that you make every year. Why not use that dish to start making some money? Okay? And you might not use that dish to make any money because maybe you don't think that it'll sell. Maybe you don't feel like it's going to grow enough. Maybe you don't feel like anybody's going to buy it, whatever the case may be. But obviously, if you already have a fan base and everybody looks forward to that dish, I guarantee if you really start marketing that dish or marketing that you're a great cook and that you have a lot of talent, you will get customers. And I'll tell you something funny. Once you start marketing the food that you make or you start selling, you start cooking professionally, the people that called you every year and asked you to make those dishes or that dish, they're not going to support you. They're not going to buy it from you. They're not going to give you any type of recognition. Only time that they called you was when they wanted to get you to work for them for free. Now, on the flip side of that, it was great that they asked you to make that mac and cheese or that wonderful dish every year because that gave you enough practice to develop your talent. Now that you develop your talent with those same people, why not use it to make yourself a little bit of money? First thing you're going to do is you're going to start maybe, booking some events. You're going to start advertising, letting other people know about the great food that you make. You're going to start, building your social media accounts and so forth. And at the end of the day, if it takes off or when it takes off, you're going to officially register your business, right? Because at the end of the day, we still got to, pay our taxes on the money that we make. But before getting into that and doing all of that, you first need to focus on the talent that you have. You need to nurture, okay? You need to nurture your talents and stop wasting your time giving away your labor for free. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do things out of the goodness of our hearts. But if we have been blessed to have a talent that can be exercised, why not utilize it? Now, it doesn't matter what you do. And I'm not going to tell you in this video that you have to cook all day for someone. No, you don't have to cook. Whatever it is you're good at. If you're good at, working on the computers, all right, maybe, people need you or offices or buildings need you to come and service their computers for them. Why not do it? Put that talent into a developing business. where you can make a little change with it on the side. And the best part about it is that you enjoy doing what you're doing, right? This is how we nurture and this is how we grow. We nurture and grow, and that way we can use our talents to make money. Now, sometimes when we want to embark on different things, a lot of us are scared to, get new training. But in a case like this, you have to basically retrain. You got to get your mind right. So, for example, again, if you are a person that's maybe in the tech industry, with the booming of AI right now, there's a lot of things that have changed technologically. But it doesn't mean because there's change, because basically the world has changed. It doesn't mean because there's change that you can't grow. So in other words, in order for you to embellish on your talents and, focus on what you can do, you probably have to retrain. You have to retrain. You have to go get new certifications. You have to do different things because remember, you want to keep yourself in the game. You want to be marketable. If you're not doing those things, you're going to get left behind. And this is where the frustration is going to come eventually. You're going to get frustrated and say, you know what, there's no need for me anymore. There's no use. And this is why everybody has to have some type of side hustle. Okay? Whatever side hustle you have, whatever talent that you have, whatever you're good at, you need to start letting it work for you. Let it grow, develop it into a little business where you can start making some money, right? Now, the next thing that we also need to do, we need to focus on just growth, period. And how do we focus on growth? We basically double down on the things that we're good at. We take the time to nourish the things that we're good at. And I guarantee, listen, when you start focusing and doubling down on what you're good at, you're not going to get any support from family or friends. You're going to have to go out there. You're going to have to market your talent. You're going to have to market your product. Whatever it is that you're developing, you're going to have to get it elsewhere. Trust me, when that success comes, those same family and friends, they will start supporting you at that point. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting advice from anyone. There's nothing wrong in letting, close family and friends know what you're doing. But I would advise anybody, whatever you're doing, don't spend all that time focusing on them for validation. You don't need a sea of approval from family and friends to nourish your talent and to grow. And hence, this is what it comes down to. Focus on yourself. Focus on things that you need to do to get better. When you're trying to focus on you, network. Start talking to people or go to places or go to events that have tools that you could use to grow your business or to grow your endeavors. Because again, it goes back to the old adage, people don't want to see you grow. They don't want to see you grow, especially if they're not growing. So because they're not growing, you shouldn't grow. Now, we're not going to sit and have that in the back of our minds about who's in our corner, who's not in our corner. We don't need to do that. But what we're going to do essentially is we're going to stop wasting our time, stop looking for validation from people that are not even focused on their own lives and their own problems. This is where you're going to get your stuff together and get your life together. Again, if this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. This is Team You Finance, where we focus on building wealth. We talk about leveling up, and we also focus on perspectives and things that could make our money grow for us. I also want to add that many times, when we have a certain talent, I think what it is, like, we were afraid. We were afraid of getting it out there. We were afraid maybe, that if you try to do something that it was going to be rejected, or we didn't have enough confidence in ourselves. And let me tell you something. The first thing in growing anything or letting anything grow is to have confidence. You got to have some type of self-confidence. Once you have self-confidence, you know exactly who you are. You know what you're focused on. You know what you can do. There's no turning back at that point. All of these people that you see have money goes back to, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, all those people that made their money. They didn't just get up one day and were instant millionaires. They had a lot of stumbling blocks. They had to start over. A lot of their ideas got tossed out. A lot of these people invested money into fly-by-night projects that didn't work. But the point is that they literally came back and they got retrained and they started over again. And that was the beginning of them, getting their talents out there, because they got rid of all the distractions and they started focusing on themselves. And this is exactly what we need to do. So again, we have to double down, basically look at our talents. Once we double down and look at our talents, what we're good at, we have to basically exercise those talents, start growing them, start networking, start marketing. And I guarantee that you're going to have success and you're going to have results. But the first focus that you need to look at, or the first thing that you need, or the first person to focus on is you. Because if you're not focused on you, nobody else is going to focus on you. All right? With that said, I have an ebook that I wrote. It's called 10 Steps to Level Up Your Money. The link is in the description if you get a moment. It's a nice, easy read. These are some of the things that I did and is currently still doing to grow, my finances. After focusing myself, this is one of the few things that I did. And it's a broad range of talking about like 10 different things that you can do to kind of get your money in line or get your money in place. Now, again, the ball's in your court. It's basically what you want to do to get your money going. All right. So with that said, as I said, people, focus on you, double down on your talent, make your money work for you. Don't waste your time getting validation from people or approval from people that have no idea or no interest in you. Because again, they're not even interested in their own selves. So if they're not interested in themselves, why are they going to be interested in you? Worry about you, focus on you. And I guarantee once you start focusing on you and worrying about you, your needs and your wants first, trust me, life is going to get better. It's going to get different. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. With that said, beautiful people, if you got this far in my message, I thank you for your time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We're also looking at, right now, a lot of people are influenced by people that they think are doing better than them. And in this hard economical time that we're all living in right now, we also have to look at a few factors as opposed to why you might think that other people are doing better. So for the sake of this video, again, we're also going to be looking at people that pretend to be rich or pretend to have more than you, and they really don't have anything. We're also looking at, ways that we can unlock financial freedom by building relationships with our banks. And we're also looking at, how we should evaluate how to spend our money. Basically, we need to check things before we spend and start buying things that don't benefit or profit us, because right now, the way things are going, we really need to keep every single dollar that we have in our pockets, right? And so after looking at that, we're also going to go into the issue of who we can basically confide in or where we can go to help better and fund our resources. So as a result, we're going to limit who we talk to about what we're dealing with. We're just going to try to look for the best resources in order to help us grow financially. Hey, beautiful people. It's your girl Mel here from Team U Finance. I hope everybody's doing well today. For today's topic, I want to talk about why you might be feeling down or why you might feel that everybody else is doing better than you financially. So let's get into it. But before we do, as I always ask you, if this content or this video resonates with you, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Again, help me get the content out. Others might benefit from it. And most of all, if it resonates, please subscribe. All right. The first reason why you might question yourself and say, why does it look like everybody else is doing better than me? Why does it feel like I can't catch up financially? Why does it feel like I'm working and I'm not growing? Is because maybe you haven't started your financial journey yet. And let me explain what I mean by starting your financial journey. There's a saying that I grew up hearing that, there's a time and place, or, everybody has a season, everybody has their own time. Well, maybe your time hasn't come yet. Now, it doesn't mean that you haven't been working, that you haven't been trying to progress, that you haven't been trying to save your money, you haven't been trying to do any special project. It just means that it's just not the right time for you to really see the results of the hard work that you've been doing. So because of that, you don't want to sit there and make yourself or start thinking that you're less than other people that you perceive to be doing well. I also want to point out that many times when you see people doing well or you think they're doing well, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's a facade. It's an act to make people or other people around them think that they're better off than them. And most times it's not even the truth. Sometimes they're either at your level or they're even worse than you. But they got to keep up that act. They got to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. Okay? So again, maybe it's just not your time and your season as yet to show progress. The other reason why I think, you or a lot of people might question themselves is that, this whole hype about social media. Now, I love social media. I love it. I try to be a part of the social media generation. I check social media every day. I log on every day. I don't miss a beat. But at the same time, I'm talking about the aspect of when you look on social media and you see people with these fancy cars, these big houses, you know, uh, flossing bottles around, making people believe that life is the greatest thing for them. And in reality, some of these people are not very happy on social media, but they just have to show you that picture as if they're doing better than you or life is a bag of roses for them. And we don't know what the truth is. Many times social media has a way of influencing us and making us feel that we need to reach to that level to where we see these people right on social media. You don't need to let anybody or anything on social media hype you up and make you believe things that are not really true at all most times. I'm not saying people that are on social media aren't doing well. Of course, there's always people that's doing well. That's their time. But it's not to the point where, you feel you need to compete with these people on social media. Log on, look at social media, get ideas, see what people are doing out there, but don't let social media drive you crazy. The next reason why you might feel that you're not doing as well is the fact that maybe you didn't really have or know anything about financial literacy. And if you don't know anything about financial literacy, that becomes a stumbling block in you leveling up and having your money grow for you. So let me go into what I mean by financial literacy. Of course, literacy means that you're aware and you can read and you know how to do things. In the case of money, I'm talking about knowing about ways to make money, not about ways to make your money grow, not about ways to make your money show you profit in the long run or long term. A lot of people didn't grow up and learn about money. It's only when you became adults that you really learned how money worked after you started paying the bills. That's when you learn about money. That's when you learn about savings and what to do. So because you don't have any financial literacy, you don't know what's going on. You don't know the good products that are out there. You don't know about those special, investments. You don't know about those special savings accounts. As I always talk about those high yield savings accounts. You don't even know about putting something away for a pension, any other type of benefit. You don't know about stocks. You don't know what's going on in the financial world. And because you don't know what's going on in the financial world, you're not, making the investments or going to the places or getting the products that you need to make that money. So being unaware of what's going on financially is also a stumbling block. And that's another reason why you might feel like you're not doing as well as everybody else. Maybe those people that you look at that are doing well, and again, if they're not faking it or they're not pretending to be rich, they're probably financially literate. They probably know what they need to do to make that money. Okay? They've been aware, they have educated themselves, or they have been taught how to go out and start making their money. And those are one of the things that we can do to get better by gaining financial literacy. The other reason, or the other thing that people always do that makes them question their financial status is the fact that they keep looking backwards. They keep comparing what they did, what they shoulda, woulda, coulda, what they should have bought, what they should have invested in, what they did invest in and lost. There's no way. If you're driving a car, there is no way you could be driving your car, going forward, and literally turning and looking back. It's not going to work. You got to leave the past alone, your financial past alone, and just keep going towards the future. Looking back in the past, because remember, the money that you done wasted or spent yesterday or a few years ago, you can't get it back. You can't get it back. And sitting up there driving yourself crazy and saying that you should have done this and didn't do that, please stop doing that. Don't let nobody or don't let any past investments or any past money mistakes drive you crazy. You got to keep going. You got to move forward and look for tomorrow. You got to look towards the future. And the, I believe, the final reason number 5 that people compare themselves to others, about their money is because, hey, you're looking at people that, again, that I said that might be faking or people that genuinely have money. Okay? You're looking at people that have probably worked hard for their money, or most times these people, they've inherited their money. They've inherited their money, or they made investments, or they bought things that brought money to them. Please don't compare yourselves to those people. Whatever those people did, whether it was in the past or whatever they were given, whatever they were spoon fed, unfortunately, you didn't have those opportunities. So now going forward, you got to try to make those opportunities for yourself. I know I mentioned 5 reasons, but I think another reason, that we need to talk about also is what's currently trending, what's going on right now. It's this whole inflation thing. Inflation is driving the whole country, the whole world. I don't care where you live, what country, what state, what city you are. Inflation is a major issue. Cost of living is going up, but wages don't really seem to be going up. If not, they're not going up. So as a result, that's maybe another reason why you don't have the money. Well, the people that you're looking at that's either really got the money or faking being rich, they've already made adjustments to this inflation right now. So what do I mean by making adjustments? Well, you gotta do the good old fashioned thing, as they always advise us. We gotta budget our money. Budget our money. Cut out the things that we feel that we really don't need. Okay? Budget your money. Basically, shuffle your money around and make your money work for you. Buy what you need to buy. Pay the necessary things that you need to pay for. You don't need to prove anything to anybody about your money. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain anything. Heck, you don't even have to let people know if you have a little bit of money. Right. And for those people that are faking that they have money or faking that they're rich, what have you, as I said before, most times they don't even have nothing. You'd be quite surprised to know and to realize and to learn that you have more than them. I'm going to tell you another secret. People that are well off and people that are financially secure or people that know how to preserve their money, those people don't even want to let people know. They don't show that facade that they have money. Because remember, they want to keep their money internal. They want to keep their money growing. They don't want the constant borrower. They don't want the beggar. They don't want those people around them when they're trying to make their money. Okay? Those people want to keep their money in house. So, all these people that you see out there flaunting and flossing and trying to make you feel bad or it's starting to get to you, you don't even need to pay these people any mind. That's the solution. Worry about yourself. You keep going forward. You keep doing what you have to do. If I'm in a situation or if I'm in a boat where I feel that my money's not really going, I need to level up. The first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to get me some literacy about finances. I'm going to learn about money. I'm going to Google, I'm going to read books. Okay? I'm not telling you to go talk to people because most times the haters don't want to share how they got their money. They're not going to tell you. They don't want to give it to you. They don't want you on the same level as them. So I'm not going to tell you to go around and talk to people. But the good old-fashioned way of learning about anything or gaining any type of knowledge is just opening a book. And in this day and age, where do we read from? We read from our computer. Google is our best friend. Anything you want to know about, all you got to Google is ways to make money, whether with your side hustles, your job, investments, savings accounts. Any little thing that you want to know about making money and leveling up is right at your fingertips on your computer or on your smartphone. Those are just some of the ways that you can start to grow your financial literacy. Stop looking at people. You don't care what they have. It's not their business what you have or what you didn't have or what you made or what you did. That's your business. You don't need to justify anything to anybody about your finances. Stop letting people let you feel less than, or stop letting people fool you, pretending that they're rich. For those people that really do have it and are living their lives, that's just their blessing.
A graduate of Harvard, a Rhodes Scholar, a naval.
A lot of people are going through a really rough patch and a really rough time right now, especially, the making of this video, October 2025. Right now, the country is in a major government shutdown, and a lot of people are left uncertain about where their next dollars. That was, I would literally make give a better interest rate because it's basically a 0.33%, 33%, not even a whole percent. Okay. All right. The first thing that we need to do, we need to mind the business that pays us. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. A lot of times you pick up the phone, you call people, you talk to them, you tell them about what's going on with you, tell them what's going on in your life, and you genuinely think that the people that you're talking to, that they're in your corner and they care, or they really are on your team. These people don't care. And this is the reason why you got to stop telling people your business. It's simple. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to worry about it. You just have to literally stop opening your mouth and letting people know what's going on in your life. So, what do I mean by that? For example, if you're going to buy anything, and as I've said before in previous videos, if you're going to buy anything, you don't need to let anybody know what you're about to buy. The biggest and the most pivotal one for me is about the finance. If you're getting a promotion or you got a new job, you don't need to call and let nobody know. Because again, these people that you're going to call and talk to until they're not happy for you. If you're enrolled in a course, you're taking, some type of training, trying to get your certifications or trying to get your money up, you don't need to be telling people that business either. Because at the end of the day, while you're doing your course and trying to get your certifications done, every 5 minutes they're going to keep calling you or texting you and asking you, are you done yet? Did you start yet? Did you find a job yet? You don't need that type of stress when you're working on leveling up and getting a better type of career, better placement. All right? I talked about it before. If you're buying a home, you don't need to tell people your business either. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You don't need to let anybody know what's going on with you, especially financially. At the end of the day, these people that you choose as confidence and that you're talking to, they don't want to see you grow. And I can remember when I was coming up and, I'd have, certain issues or certain, problems with people that I thought were my friends that I confided in. And I remember one day I was speaking to one of my family members and one of my relatives said to me, he said, listen, he said, Mel, let me explain something to you. He was like, there's nothing wrong with you talking to somebody. But what is wrong is that you keep telling them your business. And I said, explain to me what you mean. He said, you have to understand in life, people don't want you to grow. They don't want you to grow. And the most important thing is they do not want you to be even. They don't want you to be on their level. They don't mind if you're always the odd person out. Now, the path of life is not about mathematics. But in terms of leveling up and growing your money, people don't like to see or know that you're making more than them or you're about to come up or have a come up and start making some money. A person, for example, that has a good job that you admire, okay, or they're doing very well, they're successful, you admire them and they're making their money and they're doing good. And you, that's not even as fortunate as them as yet. And you're trying to come up and you tell them and you say, listen, I really admire you. I just got a new job. I got a promotion. I'm doing well. I came across some money. That person's not going to want to hear that. That person is going to want you to still stay at the level that you were before. And that's not good. This is the reason why you didn't need to tell that person your business in the first place. Again, if this is the first time you're joining me, please comment, like, subscribe, and share. We talk about all things finance and we talk about money on this channel and self-motivation. But what I was saying is that person does not want you to come up. Now, you might say to me again, Mel, listen, that's a friend that I've known for years. That's a family member. That's even my significant other. It doesn't matter who it is. If somebody's not in your corner, if somebody's an enemy and they're not in your corner, it doesn't matter if they're related to you or it's a person outside, they don't have your best interests. And that's why you basically got to mind the business that pays you. You don't need to worry about their business. You don't need to ask them or let them know about your business. You keep that to yourself. Because at the end of the day, they don't want you to grow. I also want to reiterate that when you tell people your business, you basically open up a line of disrespect. And let me explain what I mean by that. Many times when things happen to you, whether it be, personal level, it could be on a professional level, financial level. And when you bring your business to people, you tell people what's going on with you. They have all sorts of, innuendos in their mind. They think of all sorts of crazy things. Sometimes they tend to blame you that had the problem. And the thing is, you're only confiding in that person. Because again, the goal and the objective of them is to put you down, to make you feel less than. Why would you want to bring your business or talk to somebody whose goal is to make you feel bad about yourself or to try to make you feel bad? You don't even need to deal with that. And remember, if you had never brought your business to that person in the first place, they would have never had the courage or the nerves to want to put you down or take your story and make it more than it is and try to make you feel bad about something that happened to you. Again, you got to mind the business that pays you. If you need to talk about your money or ways to spend your money, go see a professional financial person. Heck, go to your bank, talk to the CSR in the booth. They could talk to you about your money. Okay? If you're having personal issues, your personal business, then you go, you talk to somebody professional, you see a therapist, you see a counselor. You do not need to be sharing what's going on in your life with people. Because at the end of the day, people don't care and they don't want to know that you're doing well. They don't want to know if you're getting better than them. They don't want you to even with them. Those are some of the things that I learned in my life. And when I learned that the people that I thought was not in my corner or didn't want to be in my corner, I didn't waste any time with those people anymore. I stopped. I stopped confiding in them. I stopped calling them. I stopped texting them. I stopped doing all of that. Now, of course, some of them, came back and said, Mel, you think you're better. You're acting brand new. You know what? You don't want to deal with me anymore and so forth. It wasn't about that. Again, I had to find my inner peace and I had to stop letting people trample on me when I had an issue or a problem. That was the biggest reason why I stopped telling people my business. And at the end of the day, they were never my friends anyway. They never cared about me. They never wanted me to have a come up. They never wanted me to be on their level. Why would I waste my precious time with you and confiding in you if that's the type of person that you are? Okay? There is no reason for you to be confiding in somebody who does not care about you. And the funny thing is, it's not like you know for sure or for certain who these people are, but you know who they are when you start telling them your business and they just don't seem to care or have any type of empathy towards you as a person. So with that in mind, I also have a new ebook, 10 steps, to level up your money. The link is in the description. If you just log on to the website, it'll show exactly where to go and get a free copy of the ebook. When you get a chance, you get a moment, read the book, get a download. It doesn't hurt you to read it. Those are some of the steps that I use to basically, grow my money, to have my peace, and start basically feeling better about myself. All right? Beautiful people, if you've enjoyed the content so far, I ask you to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow and helps to get the word or the message across. Hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day if you got this far in my message. Or stop letting people fool you pretending that they're rich. For those people that really do have it and are living their lives, that's just their blessing. And that's wonderful. Please don't compare yourself to those people. Do what you need to do to level up. I feel like this is a good year. I feel that, a lot of people are going to get the literacy that they need. They're going to start doing things. They're going to start investing in things. They're going to start leveling up their money. So you need to be one of those people that start leveling up your money. We're not worried about anybody that we think is rich or that's faking to be rich. We don't want to be comparing ourselves to those people. We're not trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're keeping up with ourselves. Because let me tell you something. Be in a competition with yourself from last year. Maybe you didn't make as much money last year, or even 10 years ago, you didn't do as well, or 5 years ago. But why not compete with what you did last year? So next year, or even this year, you could be at a higher level. Prove something to yourself, not the fake rich people, and not the Joneses, not the people that others are trying to keep up with. All right, beautiful people. That's it for today. Again, if the content resonated with you, or you know anybody that could benefit from these words of wisdom, please like, comment, subscribe, and please share the content. If you got this far my message, I thank you so much for your attention. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Save your money. It is such a cliche statement that we, as consumers, have been hearing time and time and time again. I first heard about saving money when I was a teenager. I heard about saving money again when I was in my 20s. I heard about saving money when I was in my 30s. And now that I'm in my 40s, I still keep hearing people say, save your money. But is saving something that's really easy to do? Because I don't really think it is. I think a lot of people struggle with saving. They struggle with savings because, of life, every day to day expenses. And some people struggle with saving because they just don't know how to do it or they just don't have enough to save. But before we get into it, if this is the first time you're joining me, my name is Mel. This is Team New Finance, where we talk about leveling up our money. We talk about self-growth. We also talk about, motivation and how to continue living well and prosperous once we start attaining some type of wealth. What I was saying before is that Everybody talks about saving and putting something down, but a lot of people find it difficult. And let me tell you exactly why people find it difficult. The first reason why it's so difficult to save, in my own opinion, is because we're not even making enough to save. First of all, you go, you get your job, you're wherever you work, corporate America, healthcare, whatever it is you do, and the salary that they pay you is not even meeting the cost of living. So you're making a set amount of money, but you know, to live, pay your daily bills, buy food, you're still having a deficit. It's too small.